Hey there, everybody. Dave Graham again. What a day. Before I go and talk about what happened today, let me just give you an update on some of the stuff that came in today. First things first, an Anker power bank supporting Qualcomm Quick Charge 3. It's also got an IQ charge plus the QC3 4 here. So it's USB-A to whatever you choose to use, cable-wise, USB-A to USB-C. You can use an Anker cable, whatever. Only downside, charges up based on USB-B or micro USB. It's kind of shitty, but there you go. Super small profile. You're looking at probably a couple inches there, and it's 20,000 milliamps. So this will fill your red hydrogen 1 or your iPhone, whatever, 3 or 4 times conservatively. About 3 times. If, I'm a betting man with a little bit extra left over. So I will check and I will charge using these portable batteries, but QC3 I would expect the same profile as this. Just reading specs off the bottom. QC output is 5 to 8 volts at 3 amps, 8 to 10 volts at 2.4 amps, and 10 to 12 volts at 2 amps. So looks like it's within scale. Second one, now this is a brand new one, is another Anker charger. This has got 2 ports. It's got a USB PD port, or USB-C, which does power delivery on that, as well as an IQ2 port. Now, an IQ2 is, again, an 18 watt versus 12 watt. I believe it's 18 watt. Let's see. Still check the bottom. Yeah, 18 watt. So the IQ2 outputs 5 volts at 3 amps, 9 volts at 2 amps, 12 volts at 1.5 amps. But, so 3 amps is the critical part. So we should have charging on par with a QC3, but for non-QC3 enabled devices. That's all well and good. What we will do is we will charge based on IQ2, add it to the charts and everything like that. Power delivery. Since this is a kind of a whipping boy for everybody, power delivery is 5 volts, 3 amps, 9 volts, 3 amps, 15 volts at 2 amps, and 20 volts at 1.5. So we'll check the power delivery side. Again, you're not going to see any difference. I mean, the max in all of this is 3 amps. So it is not a replacement for a Mac power supply, or like I have a Dell Latitude 7390. It's not a replacement for that. But those are, usually on order of whatever. We will test those eventually. Want to get that through, but just an update on that. All right, news of the day, and I will call this. A lot of reviews came out today. It looks like an embargo was lifted today. So a lot of review sites came out. I've already responded to some of the stuff on Twitter, so I will leave that one well alone. But let's just say The Verge, Gizmodo, and I are pretty much not going to be seeing eye to eye. I also saw from a couple of likes on things that Engadget, one of the reviewers over at Engadget, not so much a fan. I don't give a shit. It's the nature of things. What I do care about is this, and I was trying to make this point today somewhat less eloquently than maybe I'll make now, but reviewing, I categorize things into 2 different categories. Number one, an op-ed piece or an opinion piece. Like what I'm doing right now, I believe is an opinion, right? Qualitative analysis, I can't tell you. I'm not going to make any qualitative analysis on whether or not Verge, measured things to the appropriate level. I mean, it's pretty patently clear that they didn't do a very good job, in my opinion. But that's my opinion, right? So these op-ed pieces, this thing sucks. I don't like this. This blows for $1,300. I could get blah. Okay, cool. Opinion. Call it an opinion, please. It's not a review. A review to me is qualitative or quantitative analysis, right? I have an idea, I have some variables I'm going to test, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to test, and I'm going to show the rigor of my testing. Dropping your phone on someone's face is not a test of whether or not this is a good device. I'm sorry, if I dropped this on someone else's face, this would fucking hurt. So don't do it. I'm sorry, but that was colloquial wisdom. Just dictates you don't drop an aluminum thing that weighs 273 grams if you had measured it or weighed it. You don't drop it on someone's face. Kind of fucking simple, in my opinion. That being said, so review I look at as qualitative or quantitative analysis, right? So sites like Anantech, Ian, Andre, whatever, they measure product, they measure it by some type of rubric. This power supply is going to function at this. This Snapdragon 835 is going to perform thus and so based on Geekbench report. Well, I don't use Geekbench because Geekbench is notoriously flaky. But you're using some sort of rubric to hold up and say, this is why this is good, this is why it's bad. You know, when I look at my XS Max is a great phone when you measure it against the things that it's great at, or when you have a rubric that you measure it against. User experience, albeit a rubric of sorts, still falls in the opinion piece. It still falls in that gray category which says, oh, I hate this fucking phone. It's too expensive. I dropped it on somebody and it hurt. Yeah, that's bad. I mean, we'll all agree that's a bad thing to do. Hey, poof! You know, and people were joking the other day that I'm going to throw this phone. I'm not. I got a pretty good grip. Like, there are ways to get around some of the issues that have been talked about. Now, the other thing is, you know, if you're going to write an opinion piece, write about it and research it. Like, know what you're talking about. Now, you may know a lot about cell phones. Cool. Awesome. I think I know a little bit about cell phones, but, you know, whatever. I'm always willing to learn about that. The thing that that's good is we're going to point out some of the features here. I'll even do this right now for you so you can have a good sense. This is a fucking Hydrogen 1. This is probably the best damn Android phone I have used since the dawning of Android. Why? Because I like it. Oh, that's an opinion. Right, so I can't measure that. But my happiness scale is off the charts. So let's go through it. Dual front-facing 8 megapixel cameras. That's stereo pair. It's 12 megapixels on the back. Plus includes a little microphone in there and a flash. That's awesome. LED light, which is warning me that I have an email in here, and then a proximity sensor. The screen is surrounded by speakers. This makes it have a bezel. Rather than being on the bottom, which is great if you have a cup that you're going to put your phone in, you're going to listen to music and amplify it that way, this thing gets fucking loud. I like it. But who actually, now, I'm playing to a certain crowd here, I use this phone with a Sonos. I have a Sonos Play 5. That's right. So I'll pipe music through that if I want to do it. You know what? Sonos gets pretty fucking loud. I don't need to put this in a cup. Nor do I necessarily have to listen to it this way. You know, which, look, stereo speakers. When you start to talk about the A3D on it, you know, it's good. It's spatial sound. It kind of makes things have an ambiance, that's not otherwise there. That's all well and good. These are good things about the phone. That's not for everybody. Let's be honest. I listen to A3D with certain types of music, and I don't listen to it with other types of music. For example, in my car, I do not use A3D when I'm connecting with Bluetooth. Why? It just doesn't sound good in my car. But that's the way my car is EQ'd. It's not for everybody. Same way, this screen, you know, while people are saying, oh, it's a subpar screen. Thanks, Burge. Yeah, screen to me is pretty good. Pretty good. It's bright. It gets wicked bright, especially in a dark room. And you know what? It has all the sensors and controls, you know, automatic dimming, screen unlock, all that kind of fun stuff. Does it display content real well? Absolutely. Is there little black bars around the entire side of it? Yes, there is. Why is that? Well, let me tell you. Along the way, Red signed an agreement, or worked with a company called Leia, or whatever. Yes, like the princess. And it says down here at the bottom, lit by Leia. To use for their holographic technology. You can debate the semantics of holograms and 3D and all that kind of fun shit another time. I don't have a dog in that race. Don't care. What it has is a transitional layer underneath the actual LCD pattern, or transitioning layer, or whatever you want to call it, underneath the LCD panel, right? So light shines through that, it amplifies the light, does parallax shifting, works its juju and magic and whatever, and you get an image that closely approximate something that has depth, has feel to it. It is not necessarily a flat, static 2D image. You know, not wrong. Again, we can get into semantic discussions about this. I don't care. You can argue it one way or the other. Purists are going to say one thing, other people are going to say the other. Doesn't matter. It's about the user experience at the end of the day. Opinion. So, this 5.7 inch screen is not as massive as the notched fucking screens on my XS Max. Or, you know, choose your poison. But doesn't have a notch. Oh my god, I hate notches. Again, notches are not for everybody. It doesn't matter. You have to have features and functionality. So what Red chose to do is put the features and functionality above and below. All right? Same thing here. Got a power delivery port, and oh my god, you have a headphone port and a dual SIM tray. or a SIM plus micro SD card. Now, it's kind of interesting to note that, a lot of that kind of features gets brought up, but travel internationally with a dual SIM phone, you'll thank me later. So, is this a bad screen? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I've held this phone up to an image that I've taken or an object that I've taken, and the color reproduction is 1:1. That is, in my opinion, based on some of the other people that have tested this, in the H4G user forums, it is 1:1 color accurate. Maybe a slight difference here and there. The difference, though, is when you compare this to the iPhone XS Max or the iPhones tend towards the warmer color spectrum. It's great. It's the way you shoot. Actually, this is being shot on an XS Max. So you can shoot me later. I don't care. That doesn't matter. Like, that's just the nature of stuff. So when people color bias or when they have a certain bias towards a type of that, this is why I'm saying it's not objective to say, oh, that color sucks. Well, the color is actually pretty accurate as it pertains to real life entities, based on the lighting, based on everything that's going on. Right? I'm shooting under LED lights, probably 5,000 Kelvin. It's a color temperature. So, what we get, you get criticism on is like, oh, this shit's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, green's green. And if you're so used to certain types of things, and don't even get me started on True Tone, which, Apple has done more of a disservice to people by having a screen that tries to dynamically mirror the environment than actually representing life. Now, I do photography for fun. So for me, I'm not going to be as seriously and like, oh my God, this has to be 100% color accurate. But the things I notice are, it is color accurate. I do like those type of stuff. If you go to my Instagram account, which is Elemental Collision, if you go to Holopics, where I am me on Holopics, none of that stuff's been edited. And if it has, black and white would be edited. There's one light I took using manual mode on the H1 where I was able to do it. Those type of things, I just shoot as is. I don't do any kind of color manipulation post facto. Doesn't need to be. Now, other guys on the forum do it, and it is incredible what they're able to do. But we're all creatives, right? I could do the same. I could do similar stuff on the iPhone. One area which I will know is when we're talking about photography, where the iPhone I think pales in comparison to this, and the Pixel 3 based on what I've seen, is in depth of field and bokeh. Now, iPhone has portrait mode, which is great if you're 8 feet away, or between 6 and 8 feet. Actually, on this, you can get a wider range of blur effect, a computationally, additive photography, if you will. It's synthetic bokeh. I mean, I have a real camera DSLR that I use, and I can get really good bokeh effects with the lenses that I use. It's all about managing your aperture, managing your shutter, doing all that kind of fun stuff. So that's cool. That's well and good. But the kind of shit on the phone for not having good image quality when you're approaching it from an area of rampant consumerism and understanding. I mean, that's not an objective, level of research. And we'll, I'm sure this will go through DxOMark. Other thing. Power supply, or not power supply, poker pins, let's talk about that. So, one of the big criticisms that came out today, and I can understand this to a certain extent, is there's no accessories. Well, I mean, you get a power cable, and you get a power supply and a data cable, you get a box. I mean, what else the fuck do you want? I get it. The big promise on an ecosystem is, the ability to extend it and do things with it. Would we want to go buy a red branded headset? No, actually, I use a set of Bose QC35 Series 2. I have a THX 610s, which I use for wired. A lot of flexibility in that. I'm not going to toss in a cheap shit piece of headphone gear into the box in order to make a point. Like, I'm not Apple. I mean, I'm not going to have people feeding of it. And by the way, I'm not going to include some wimpy ass charger that takes a night and a day to do it. I mean, how many of you actually use the stock charger that Apple provides? If you do, raise your hand. I can't see it. I'm on video. Oh, that's right. Doesn't matter. Make sure it's facing around. This is actually a charger you can use. Yeah, doesn't mean I always use it. Well, you saw at the beginning, I tend to use a lot of different ones. And that's because I travel. I want to have a little bit more flexibility based on the amount of devices I had. But if you're going to do that with Apple, you'd have to go buy some shit anyway, right? So if you're going to buy the little Apple cheeklet thing, oh wow, my brand new $1,300 phone came with a charger I can't use, start adding it up. Your $12.95 suddenly becomes very valuable because an XS Max at 256 gig becomes inordinately expensive. You start running into things that are canceling each other out. So, Pokepin wise, these guys, Red has promised an ecosystem around it. You know what? It's up to Red to deliver it, but based on what I've seen in terms of them delivering phones that actually work, which, let's be honest, it takes a lot of effort to get this kind of stuff to market, they're perfectly capable of doing. So if I were a betting man, I'd be paying attention to an announcement related to the accessories that are going to become. They're going to use this data and power connection. If you go onto the forums, Jim has already talked about, and Jim Jannard, obviously the founder of Red, has already talked about, a 2D module that will fit on there. And I already talked about some of the specifications in a very, very global sense, right? Not specific, but enough there. The ecosystem is coming, but first you have to get used to what it is, right? So this is a phone, and it's truly a media machine. It's not designed just around being a fucking phone. This is great, but I really use it, and I'm going to use it like a phone. So a quick word on the 3D or holographic photography, since I'm just jumping around and it's my fucking video, I can do what I want. Holography, or the main phone, main sensor. This is a stereo pair of 12 megapixel cameras. Oh my god, people are so wrapped around the axle, it's not 20 megapixels, it's not blah, 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 blah. All right, here's the deal. When you're trying to do computationally additive photography, it's not necessarily more is better. Let me repeat that. It's not always more is better. Take, for example, machine learning or image processing. Do you get what that actually does? The whole idea is to simplify and deconstruct images to the point where you're just looking at referential bits and pieces, right? I liken it towards going from an Xbox One X to a Nintendo. That's going from 64-bit, if you will, to an 8-bit console. Do you notice any difference between them? Yeah. But you still know what you're doing, and you're able to recognize Mario as he runs across the street. You're still able to play Duck Hunt. You're still able to do all that stuff. Well, the idea is very much similar in computationally additive photography. You're going to take a complex image, and you're going to break it down. You're trying to figure out ways to make that image better, right? So Pixel does it through a custom ISP. That's awesome. Let's do it with the bog standard shit that comes in Qualcomm Snapdragon family of system on chip. You know what? One of the things that you can use, it has a built-in DSP, which, when you think about it, you have an ISP, handles the feeds. DSP is untapped resource within the phone. I don't know a lot of people that actually use it. That DSP is able to do some really cool shit, like align images, do stuff. Add in the processor, the big little core setup in the 835, you got some ready-made computational power, stuff gets done. So being able to layer those two side-by-side or stereoscopic images together, develop edges, do details, it's phenomenal. Does it work? Yeah, everybody I've shown pictures to, and we're talking waitresses, we're talking people in airports, we're talking to executives in boardrooms, have all looked at that and went, holy shit. Maybe they didn't say holy shit, maybe they said wow, whatever. Wow. And the inevitable question is why? How does it do that? Why does it do that? What's the kind of effect there? And this is an area where I can look at any of the reviews and say there is a lot to prove in this space. Absolutely, unequivocally. Opinion time. Red has everything to prove and everything to lose by doing this. Why? Because if you don't develop the ecosystem or things around it, you're not going to have the ability to display it to anybody except owners of the Houdini. Of course, if you shit all over it from day one, you're going to have a harder time to do that. But if you actually ask somebody who's worked with it for over 2 months, hello, guess what? You might get a little difference of opinion. Like, this is livable. So there's that concept of that kind of computational stuff. Now, there also has to be other devices down there. One of the things I would love to see would be a tablet. I watch a ton of movies when I fly on planes. I would love to have a tablet that does this stuff in 3D. It doesn't make my eyes ache like it will go into a theater and doing 3D does. So, in that case, I think it's pretty fucking cool. So, a lot to be proven out in that space. All of this to say, listen, all the pieces that came out today are opinion pieces. You can't spend 5 minutes with a phone and expect a result. I can spend 5 minutes with Apple now because Apple's a known quantity. And I gotta be honest with you, Apple hasn't revolutionized anything since maybe the original iPhone. And even then, let's just call it, we made a better UI for shit that we needed to get done. Apple's not revolutionary anymore, guys. Their compute power is, but that is one real small part of that. I don't give a shit about, oh, you have a glass back. By the way, it's going to charge you $600 to get that replaced if you fucking break it. Okay, I get it. That's not revolutionary. That's evolutionary. I don't give a shit. Oh, and they allow wireless charging. Oh. Ever tried that? It's slow as shit. So there's less of a revolution there than there is an evolution. It's evolutionary. It has not been revolutionary for quite some time. I would say the iPhone X was interesting in that it did all facial recognition, but it's not revolutionary. I mean, how long has facial recognition been around? We've been seeing it in movies for years. The thing that I appreciate about the Red ecosystem is that it is designed for longevity. It's designed to have as a means to an end. The means to an end is to equip professionals, amateurs, mom and pops out there to have a budding ecosystem that continues on and grows with it. This becomes, let's think it through. This becomes the brains of the operation. The modules that go on place, like a 2D camera, whatever, those become add-ons and accessories, or they become what can be swapped out for newer brains as things go around. It's a concept of modularity that not a lot of phones have done. You know, we talk about the aborted, well, they're really kind of aborted attempt of Moto Z and the Z Packs or whatever they put on the back, which oddly enough is a drug. That's all well and good. It's a great concept, right? But the problem was execution, actually making it desirable. Ooh, you got a boombox, stereo sound in the back. Okay, cool. But what it didn't do is it didn't make those really truly livable, right? It was designed based on one phone, based on one pack. What you have here is if this continues on in the ecosystem, when the Hydrogen 2 comes out, for example, that module, as I'm able to remove it, comes off the back of the H1, I swap it onto the new brains, and I continue on, and I gain that stuff. This doesn't become outdated at that point, but it becomes a secondary use case. You have a preserved investment, whereas you wouldn't have that with an H1. I mean, how many of you guys buy a new iPhone every year? Right, well, I use it for work, so I have an excuse. But when you're buying along the chain, the investment protection is not there. I'm buying a new Apple every year. I had to buy a new case, I had to buy a new Apple Care, I had to do all this kind of stuff. So by having this as a modular brain concept, this becomes the entity that can kind of get shifted around. You suddenly create a different type of approach to stuff. Very much less phone, more media machine, which is what it was called to begin with. Red Media Machine. So all that to be said, and I'll close with this. No fit, finish, and polish on this shit. I am who I am, right? This is an opinion. This is a review or whatever. There's no data that I present in here that you couldn't find out by having one of these things yourselves. So just try and prove. Go talk to people on H4V user. It's not. We don't live in isolation. We're a bunch of guys and gals that like to get out and talk about stuff. For filmmakers or amateurs or professionals, I work for a large company. You know, I go and talk to people for a living. That's what I do. We're students in college. And I've met so many awesome people through these forums that are going to be using these phones or have used these phones or are using these phones for the betterment of everyone around us. It's not just about, you know, that kind of inoculated, oh, it's just a cool new toy or whatever. Sure, there's a cool factor for it. Hands down, this is the most industrial design I've ever seen. And like I said at the beginning, you drop this on someone's face, it's gonna fucking hurt. But in the same sense, you know, what this promises and what this can bring is a hell of a lot more than just, you know, a causal review of 5 minutes that says this shit sucks. So look at it. Ask us questions. We're open. You can ask me questions. This will be up on YouTube. Go ahead. Lambast me all you want to. Have an opinion. Have an attitude about it. That's great. And I can appreciate opinions. That's all that's to be said about all these reviews. I can appreciate opinions. But you gotta label it as such. You don't call an opinion a review and expect me to believe that you've done any level of qualitative analysis against it or quantitative analysis against it, because you haven't. You know? Because some of these things, there's enough gaps in there I can poke holes into it just by virtue of my experience. So stick with it. Enjoy the ride. Talk to us if you want to have more information on these things. We're open and available. The forum is open pretty much 24 hours a day. There's a couple of us on there that are answering questions constantly, and I'd love to do it. And I test the battery chargers. I'm testing and trying to find feedback. We're building a community. We are a community. Anybody anybody and everybody that's interested. You're all welcome to the party. So from me, Dave, to all of you, people of the world, or whoever is actually going to see this, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Give it a chance. I mean, it's an expensive film, but in my opinion, it has been my delight. It's been worth it to me to be able to embark on this journey and to test things out early, to also get in there and, say what's right, say what's wrong. I will have a full review of the phone, the good, the bad, the ugly, at some point, and that will be a review of the phone, where we'll mark some stuff out and, try to do that. And I'll also label the sections that are opinions, right? So, in any case, talk to you guys later, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.